All right, man, peace. So, in light of Lavar Ball's most recent comments pertaining to Luke Walton, the young coach of the LA Lakers, it has precipitated a phenomenon that is very consistent with the revealing of the truth, which is that it forces all of the people who are the recipients of that truth to make decisions that they probably don't want to make and make statements that they don't want to make. And what I mean by that is many of these various factions that are very comfortable in the NBA, whether it be the mainstream sports media or what I call the liberal sports media, the NBA Coaches Association, the coach of the LA Lakers, Luke Walton, and of course the de facto leader of the LA Lakers, Magic Johnson. All of these various factions have been put in uncomfortable positions by Lavar Ball's comments. And the reason why they've been made to be uncomfortable is because the comments are true. There's very little that he said that was out of bounds or outlandish. What made it out of bounds was the fact that, unlike most super fans, he actually has someone on the team. So from that perspective, that's the only thing that I felt like he should have considered. But let's see some of these people, how they react to the truth and how much it reveals some of the fabric of this society.
Someone else weighing in on this subject. That would be Mavs coach Rick Carlile, who is also president of the Coaches Association, and he thinks LaVar Ball and the coverage of him is no laughing matter. Take a listen, guys.
Printing an article where the father of an NBA player has an opinion that is printed as anything like legitimate erodes trust. It erodes the trust that we've built with ESPN, and our coaches are upset.
Well, the only way for the trust between the quote-unquote trust between the NBA and ESPN to be eroded is if either the NBA is not providing the product that they're contractually obligated to provide, that being athletes that are on the floor to win games, or if ESPN is not broadcasting the games that they promised they would broadcast for the NBA. It has the so-called trust that this person is alluding to is fictional, and it does not exist. Quite frankly, he sounds like someone who's desperately grasping at straws because LaVar Ball is introducing a dynamic that they're not comfortable with and that they don't really feel like they want to be bothered to handle. Most of these coaches right now in the NBA, they are a fraternity, which means a brotherhood. There's no doubt about that. And they pretty much just get recycled through different teams, even though many of them have been proven that they cannot coach. Now, Rick Carlisle is not one of them. He has proven that he is a pretty good coach. He is a borderline very good coach, even though he should be more worried about why his team has been struggling so much over the last 5 years than he should be about LaVar Ball and Luke Walton.
Because Luke Walton does not deserve that. To have to deal with these kinds of ignorant distractions, is deplorable.
Well, the only way that you could prove that LaVar Ball's comments are ignorant is if Luke Walton proves to be a great coach. Right now, what Luke Walton deserves has nothing to do with LaVar Ball's comments as much as it does the record of the LA Lakers. Period, bottom line. If Luke Walton does not want to have the play of the LA Lakers directly addressed by LaVar Ball, then it behooves him to improve the level of the team's play.
They should look at their sources and do a better job of determining whether they have any merit or any validity, or are they just blowhard loudmouths?
I wonder what journalism school Rick Carlile went to. At the end of the day, modern day sports media reporting is all about opinions and feeling. No, they're not just going to ask so-called basketball experts what they think about basketball. Not anymore. Not in this day and age where everyone is searching for clicks. LaVar Ball is someone who moves the meter. If they don't want LaVar Ball to be a heavy part of modern day NBA entertainment, then they're going to have to consider remodeling how information is dispensed. Because we live in the social media age. People no longer have to go through the middleman of quote-unquote accredited journalists anymore. And in order for many of these so-called accredited journalists to keep up with the Joneses of internet sports reporting and social media, they are going to have to pay issuance to or pay attention to who's moving the meter. And LaVar Ball moves the meter. Bottom line. And there's a myriad of reasons for that.
That's what I'm saying. You got that?
Matter like he about to cry.
Low, hard, loud mouth. Stephen A., does Carlile have a point?
No, he does not. I respectfully disagree. Well, let me take that back. It's not that he doesn't have a point. It's that I respectfully disagree with him. And in the interest of full disclosure, Rick Carlile and I spoke about a half hour before the show this morning. Not to mention the fact that he and I go back many, many years. I have a lot of love for him.
Y'all don't go back anything. You've been putting a microphone in front of his face for many, many years. Rick Carlile's not your friend. Rick Carlile don't give a shit about you. You're just like a stray dog. You're happy for anyone who's going to give you the time of day, Stephen A. That's why you get mad at some of these athletes, because they don't want to sit down and help you improve your profile by giving you one-on-one interviews. Anybody who gives you an interview, you're going to defend them like a good lapdog. You do it with Kobe Bryant, you do it with Carmelo Anthony, and you do it with Rick Carlile. You and him don't quote-unquote go back, acting like you went to college together or something. Give me a break.
Profound respect for him. He's a championship coach. I feel very, very strongly about Rick Carlile as a person, and
Oh, really? You feel strongly about him as a person? What, did you guys fight in Iraq together or something? Did he save your life? Did he give you some tips on your hairline? Like, give me a break, brother. You feel very strongly about him as a person. You don't know him.
He and I have known each other for many years, but I respectfully disagree with him in this respect. He's looking at it as ambulance chasing or what have you. We live in an age where the bottom line is it's not about negativity sells or anything like that, something as simplistic as that. This is not an anonymous quote. This is Lavar Ball. Just because you don't like him, just because you might feel he's a bit idiotic or his statement is a bit idiotic or what have you, doesn't mean that you don't quote the man. Okay? So
Of course, because at the end of the day, what is implied or what's inferred, I should say, is that LaVar Ball may have some insight into what's going on in the Laker locker room. So, of course, they're going to take him seriously, and his view of the LA Laker coach is going to be taken seriously. The LA Lakers are a global brand. I mean, and in regards to the United States, they're right there with the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Yankees. They are a national brand.
When I think about Jeff Goodman sitting down talking to him, I'm not a person that was in support of ESPN going to Lithuania. I saw no purpose to that whatsoever.
No one cares about what you think. No one cares what you were in support of, bro. You don't make any decisions. We all know that. You're pretty much just a Muppet that they throw on TV 7 days a week. Even though First Take only runs from Monday through Friday, when they call your ass up, when they buzz you on Saturday or Sunday, you better get up and get on TV and report what they want you to report. So let's not act like what you think about what you're in favor of or not in favor of matters in the least, because it doesn't.
But that's just my personal opinion. But having said that, if LaVar Ball, I don't care where he is, makes this statement about Luke Walton, I'm going to quote him. Period. He is the father of the point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Absolutely.
And is talking about how this coach needs to go. Now, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not newsworthy. Just because you have a distaste for LaVar Ball's tactics doesn't mean that what he said in this particular situation is not newsworthy. We sit up there and we report what he says, and now we get to comment and excoriate it and minimize it for the nonsense that it may have been.
Well, it can't be nonsense when you look at the Laker record. Now, if Luke Walton was 30-10 and LaVar Ball was saying that the Lakers don't want to play for him and because he's mad that he does not feel like his son is getting enough playing time, then that's nonsense. But when your record is 13-27 and you've had high first-round draft picks for the last 4 years and your team is still struggling, something is wrong. Something is rotten in Denmark. Period.
But it doesn't mean that you ignore it just because it's him. He's the father of the point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. And that makes it news. You may not like it, but if liking someone or liking a particular topic is what determines what gets disseminated to the masses, then there's a whole bunch of stuff that's not going to get written and not going to get reported.
I agree.
And we got to be cognizant of that.
Rick Carlile is wrong. And you know, we are partners with the NBA. By the way, the NBA is the greatest. Stephen A., it's your favorite. It's my favorite, too. And it's the greatest team sport there is. And, you know, I love football, and other people love other team sports. And I grew up on baseball. There's basketball, NBA basketball is it's as good as it gets.
Well, it's as good as it gets when it's played on the highest level. Overall, to me, football is the greatest team sport. It's not my favorite team sport, but it's the greatest team sport because of the way that every position directly affects every other position. No matter what, you have to play your position in football. In the NBA, guys can get out of position. Dudes can decide to do what they want. In the NFL, you can't do that. You just can't. You have to run, you have to move, knowing that you're not going to get the ball. In the NBA, they can design a play for someone else, and you can still have eyes on the ball, and you can still touch the ball. In football, there are players who know that they're never going to touch the football, and they still have to do their job. So that's what makes it a true team sport. A truer team sport to me even than basketball. Even though basketball is my favorite team sport, I don't think that it's the greatest team sport.
By the way, the ratings are increasing in a declining TV market, and everyone is, you know, NBA obsessed. It's a great league. And sure, when you are, if a broadcast entity is broadcasting games from a league, you are partners in a way, and the league can influence the broadcasting entity. It's not as though they don't have influence. They don't sit down and talk about things. This is not life and death after all. It is entertainment.
Yes, and being that it's entertainment, it does not behoove ESPN to do the bidding of NBA coaches. That is not their job. So Rick Carlile is just very, very ill-informed in regards to what he perceives to be the job of the networks that dispense NBA basketball. It's not their job to make sure that things stay, quote-unquote, in-house. ESPN is a business partner of the NBA. They're not confederate with individual NBA teams. It's not his job to tell the reporters at ESPN who they should interview and who they shouldn't, and who they should quote and who they shouldn't. The same way that he would not want NBA reporters from ESPN to tell him who he should play and who he shouldn't play. When he's on, when the Dallas Mavericks are on ESPN, they can't tell him, well, we want you to play Dennis Smith Jr. and Harrison Barnes more because it's better for ratings. He's going to say, get the hell out of my office.
But they can't dictate to the broadcasting entity how to cover their league exactly.
Agreed.
So he may not like that he's maybe right that LaVar Ball, I'd say he is right, is a blowhard. But if people feel it's interesting,
it's your job to be a blowhard. You working with the number one blowhard in sports media, Stephen A. Smith. So, once again, turnabout is fair play.
We're newsworthy. They're going to point a camera at it. We're going to comment on it. I understand he doesn't like that because it rewards, loudish behavior. But he may have a point there. A lot of the choices we make editorially, here or in other news organizations, I've been around, Stephen A., and also in hard news, is gut. It's from your gut. The producers, the talent, you sit down, we're called talent, believe it or not. You sit down, let me just finish these thoughts. You sit down in the meeting and you decide, what are we going to cover? And sometimes, it is true, you kind of put your finger in the wind and you find LaVar Ball's talking again. And at a certain point, you may get pushback from people within an organization saying, you know what, we're covering this guy a lot. What's his credibility? It's the same thing over and over. We shouldn't reward this kind of behavior. And maybe that kind of affects the coverage in a way, and that's perfectly reasonable. Sometimes your gut tells you the wrong thing. And
sometimes gut is just cold word for lazy journalism. But at the end of the day, you guys are going to report what you feel like moves the meter. We know that there are certain dead periods in sports reporting, that being from mid-July all the way until mid-August. That's a very dead period in sports journalism. Why is that? Because basically all you have is the Major League Baseball regular season. Basketball playoffs have just ended. Football training camp has not started yet. We know that around this time period of early to mid-January, you have the NFL playoffs, but the NBA is kind of in the middle of its season. And you guys also have a little dead period around, right after the Super Bowl, So, you guys start going to certain topics when you hit those dead periods. That's when you'll see topics come up. Who's greater, Jordan or LeBron? Like they have certain topics that they pull up off the scrap heap whenever they hit those dead periods. And LaVar Ball is now a scrap heap topic. And if he says something that is inflammatory or that they feel like moves the needle, they're going to report on it. Why is that? Because LaVar Ball is, he's a needle in a haystack. He's a guy who doesn't care what anybody thinks, and he's unapologetic in a day and age where everybody apologizes for everything.
But a coach in the league saying, hey, they shouldn't be covering them, the broadcast will decide who we cover and how and what we want to say about it. And he may not like that it, in a way, rewards bad behavior, but sometimes that's the way it goes.
Well, listen, that's right. But listen, at the beginning of the season, or when the Los Angeles Lakers had opening night, LaVar Ball came over while I was on the air, or for doing Sports Center. It was apropos for me for him to be on because he was the one bloviating about his son, and his son started off his NBA career bad. So the bottom line is, you know what? It's appropriate.
And at the end of the day, LaVar Ball, whether he predicts positivity or what those might deem to be negativity, he doesn't run or hide from anyone. When things don't turn out how he predicted, he doesn't say, he doesn't act like he doesn't know where the cameras are. He goes in front of the cameras and he still puts a positive spin on everything. And that's really what they're looking for. They're trying to find a way to make LaVar Ball conform to everyone else's depression, negativity, and poor outlook on their own life. Especially him being a strong black male figure.
Him talking yesterday about Luke Walton, it's bad, it's classless, it's wrong, it's beyond the pale.
Well, then I hope that you hold yourself to those same standards when you start talking about Marvin Lewis and Jeff Fisher, who you campaigned to get fired last year, and all the other guys that you expect to get fired. If things are classless, then class should not be determined based on your station. Meaning, just because you're a so-called accredited journalist does not mean that you should have the ability to say things that LaVar Ball should not be able to say. If something is classless, then it's just classless. Don't tell me that something is part of your job description based off of where you went to school. At the end of the day, you're a journalist. Your job is to report the news. It's not to editorialize everything and give everyone your alleged expert opinion on things that you have never done on a professional level. Stephen A. Smith has never played in the NBA, and yet he constantly tries to comport himself as if people are supposed to genuflect about when it comes to his basketball opinion. Same thing with Max Kellerman and his boxing perspectives. No, they're not experts. They're just people who talk really well about certain topics and are able to convince multi-billion-dollar media organizations like ESPN that they're going to be able to sell the public on a product. And that's okay. But if you're going to be held to a certain standard, you cannot hold LaVar Ball to a different standard because he's been able to achieve the same acclaim as you without putting forth even a fraction of the facade. And that to me is what people are truly so disdainful of in regards to LaVar Ball, is that he doesn't put on any airs. He just is who he is. And people like Stephen A. Smith, his attitude is, if I have to put on this 3-piece suit every day and I have to walk a straight line, then why should not LaVar Ball have to walk that straight line? Why should he not have to walk through that same straight gate that I have to walk through?
But he is the father of the point guard for the team. It's appropriate. Now, if he was talking about something else, maybe we should sit up there and ignore him.
Or if he was speaking on a team that was successful and the only reason why he was speaking out was because his son wasn't getting the playing time or the exaltation that he felt like he should get, then you could disregard him. But for a team that's 13-27 or whatever their record is, he has to be taken seriously. Or at least what he says has to be regarded. For anyone to allege that his comments are baseless and without foundation, that's just somebody who's upset with LaVar on a personal level.
It's news, and there are editorial decisions that go into covering. Wait, is this really news? Should we cover it? And by the way, with respect to Lavar Ball, those conversations at various media outlets, I'm sure, are ongoing internally. How much of this remains news? How much of it should we cover? Those comments that he made are news, and we're covered.
Yeah, but his last comments on Luke Walton there, definitely inappropriate. We all agree on that for sure.
No, we don't all agree on that. Speak for yourself. We don't all agree on that. I don't think that there was anything inappropriate about it. And if that's the case, then every last one of you at your station should stop trying to esteem or approximate who should be hired and or fired.
For sure. Gentlemen, when we come back...
But anyway, that's the issue with Lavar Ball and Rick Carlile and the NBA players, the NBA's coaching association. I'm sure that this will not be the last that we hear of this issue. Peace.